Okay, guys, thank you so much. Very important topic, and we thought of having this special Zoom webinar this time instead of YouTube webinar. And the topic is the future of QA in the AI world. It's a very general topic. A lot of things, a lot of questions are going on, currently in the market, on LinkedIn, everywhere on social media. We get this question that, okay, what is the future of QA in the AI world? And what are the different, hypes are going on in the market, facts versus myth? And what is my career after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? What exactly I have to look for after this thing? Because the way AI is getting represented by the different companies in the market, is it a really hype or marketing gimmick, or do we really need to worry about it, or the still the core skills and the human intelligence is it still required or not? So this is like a very hot topic in the market, and I think Bruno, I think you are the right person for this to discuss about it.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I find that I come across a lot of these questions day by day. Every time I'm doing a demo, I can see that people have concerns about,
Hmm.
AI and, whether it is gonna, do what they
Exactly.
hear.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, so this is what that's a good thing that we are having this topic today. And I'm looking for, in fact, we all are looking for your expertise because you are into the actual, a tool that you guys are developing and like using it, and then using the test trigger, how exactly people are using it. What is the, perception in the market with respect to AI from your customers, and people are really appreciating it, adopting it, or rejecting it. So we would like to know a couple of, some insights about those things as well from you and from your expertise.
yeah, of course. And we will definitely touch on that in a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
So,
a couple of things, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to write in the chat. From our side also, we will discuss about, some really important topics, important things. If still you have any questions, you just feel free to write in the chat, and me and Bruno will try to take it in between or after the session also we'll take it. So yeah, Bruno, the stage is yours, and then please go ahead. Yeah.
all right, awesome. So, I guess first thing first, let's just start with a couple of light introductions and some agenda. So, obviously, we'll introduce ourselves, even though you probably know Naveen, and maybe some of you know me. We're going to talk about pain, because that's really what brings us all here is difficulties, if you will. We'll then talk about myths versus facts. Talk about a couple of case study, probably just one case study, but that's fine. And then I'm going to jump into testRigor to show you, how testRigor can help with, test creation and
Mhm.
automation and all that jazz. So while we're introducing ourselves, feel free to throw in the chat where you guys are all from, what your roles are, just to, give us a little bit more fuel to discuss. But Naveen, go for it.
Okay, I think if people, maybe you guys are already aware of me because of my channel and everything. So yeah, I'm the founder of Naveen Automation Labs, and we are based in Dubai and Bangalore. And it's been around 7, 8 years with the YouTube with Naveen Automation Labs. I'm having around 15 years of experience in testing, test automation, and from last especially 10 to 12 years in the QA training. And recently we developed a couple of important tools also for the community like Locator Labs and QA Daily platform. So these are the two links which are available, guys. Go for it. Try these tools. These two tools will help you a lot in terms of, improve your locator strategies. And if you really want to read some amazing blogs worldwide, QA Daily is a free platform, qadaily.dev. You can just simply go there, and then this is just like Instagram or Facebook, and then n number of content related to the QA, test automation, AI, and all those things we have published over there. And then every half an hour, new articles are coming on those tools. So just go and then watch it. And then yeah, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. This is my QR code, and you can scan it from your phone, and then or you can just connect me. Just type Naveen Automation Labs or Naveen Kurita on LinkedIn, and then I'll be happy to help you guys there.
Awesome. Thank you. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Bruno Mazzata. I am the Solutions Engineer Manager at testRigor. I am based just outside of Boston, so for anybody that's in the States that just dealt with the crazy snow, I am right in the middle of all of that. So I've been in the tech space for uh, over 20 years, um, 8-ish years in the automation space. Um, I've been working at testRigor now for the last 2 years, and I've worked at some other well-known automation companies in the past as well. I am an animal lover, currently own a cat, and when I'm not helping people automate and streamline their test creations, um, I enjoy a whole bunch of other stuff: gardening, woodworking. I make my own beef jerky, billiards, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's enough about me. But so once again, a lot of what we're going to be talking about revolves around pain and concerns and things like that. So first thing I like to show is this slide. This slide typically grabs people's emotions and really plays with that because these are things that you all are probably hearing all the time. QA slows our releases, or bugs are getting released and impacting quality and things like that. um Test creation velocity is slow. So these are all very common things that we hear regularly.
Mm-hmm.
um and obviously there's many more of these. um with that, obviously there's always concerns about how we get started and all sorts of things like that. So I really like to talk about this case study here with Keith because this is just an awesome case study. And sorry, I forgot to mention it earlier, but there are QR codes on some of these slides. So feel free to, either scan the testRigor one or Naveen's if you want to get a little bit more information about the specific thing that we're talking about here. Um, Plus, there are some other topics that we're going to hit on later on. So, definitely, um, you know, scan that code, reach out, look for a demo. But with Keith Poe here, Keith was not was sorry is um, he's
Mm-hmm.
VP of engineering at IDT. He was tasked with basically trying to automate for IDT, and he went in. They had zero automation, and he put a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of resources towards automation using Selenium, and they were
Mm-hmm.
able to automate some of their things. Some. However, it was very, very limited coverage, very flaky, and it just wasn't really what he was looking for. But the fact that he was able to automate at all, they were very happy with him. They gave him stock and all sorts of other stuff. So really, really great story from the start. But after year one, they needed to increase their coverage, and he tried to put more money and more resources towards it, and they weren't able to increase that much. They were able to go from like 30 to 33%. So, he was a little concerned. Year two, he did the same thing: more money, more resources, and they only got to 34%. So he was
Mm-hmm.
basically at that point concerned for his job. He basically said that he would be able to get automation like off the ground and running, but they were really stagnant. Keith found testRigor, and from testRigor, he was able to take some testRigor licenses, share those licenses to a bunch of different people of different skill sets, and he was able to have a bunch of non-technical users create so many test cases that they were able to cover 91% of their test cases. So obviously, this is like a great story, great use case, and that just shows you the power of testRigor. Obviously, today is
Mm-hmm.
not all about testRigor, but it is going to talk about how testRigor can help you in this path. But great story, and once again, this is not the only case study we have that shows something like this. Um, so with that, let's actually get into it because obviously everybody's here. They want to know what sort of stuff we're going to be talking about. So, um, and keep in mind, just because I have the slides doesn't mean that this is all we're going to talk about. So, if you have heard of any myths out there about AI or any facts, feel free to shoot those into the chat as well. Because once again, everybody's here to learn. I think this is going to be a great opportunity for everybody to, find some comfort in AI instead of being concerned and scared about it. Um, so I guess the first myth, and this is one that I hear all the time, AI is going to take my job. Naveen, you hear this too?
Yeah. Like every day, almost like number of DMs, me mails. Everyone is like, sometimes people are tagging me in my groups also. Like, what will happen? AI is going to take my job. No offers. Like, yeah, this is like evergreen hot topic these days.
Yeah. Yeah. And, what it really comes down to is AI doesn't take jobs. The people who know how to use and leverage AI are the ones that are going to be taking the jobs. So, it's more about up leveling yourself, you know, finding new ways to, learn some AI skills and bring that to your job. Leverage your AI however you can to become more efficient. It's not just about
Mhm.
losing your job. It's about becoming better at what you're already doing. All right. So, that's a big one. Obviously lots of people are concerned about, possibly losing their job because of this. And once again, you know, if you're not willing to work with it, yeah, it's possible that you will lose your job to AI, but that's not the plan here. The expectation is you you learn it, you pick it up, and you use it to help become more efficient and more impactful in your current role. All right. So here's another one. AI is going to do everything for me. Um, Naveen, have you come across this one too?
Yeah, I think my take is also like AI is going to take everything for me. I don't think so. Because see, practically when we work at the ground level, there are so many things for dev also, for QA also. Like
Mm,
I'll give you a very simple example that when we work in the real-time projects, I have to check so many things. I have to check the server logs, I have to check the queries, I have to check the logs also if any issues or panics are there in the production. Then we have to fix some code. Then we have to do the regression. Then we have to check that okay, something is getting triggered in the database or not. We have to check the data, right? I'm not talking about only automation. I'm talking about the overall bug identification process or test case execution process. Because test case is not about only running few steps there on the UI. It's not like that. I have to check so many things in the backend, API, database, microservices, and the gateways are working fine or not. So I don't think so that, okay, how exactly AI is going to check each and everything, right, into the system and layer by layer. That is like
mm,
human intelligence or human touch. And my gut feeling is like very much required over there. So this is like absolutely myth. Totally agree with you. AI is going to take everything for me. I don't think so.
yeah, I'd have to agree. And the fact really is, yeah, AI is not that advanced. And I wanted to bring a little humor to this slide because you know, go back 2 years. Do you remember that video of Will Smith eating spaghetti? It it's it's a bit daunting, So this is what people thought AI was going to be doing, and obviously, I
Hmm.
know that this was 2 3 years ago. AI has made some improvements since, but once again, it's not going to do everything for you. Let's just be honest. Um, so uh man, such a bad video. But with that, obviously, you know, we want to, keep on moving forward here. So, uh, next myth: AI will replace humans for testing and general quality assurance. So, obviously, I know that that's probably most of the people that we have here today. People that are in testing, people that are in QA that are worried that AI is going to take their jobs and replace you. But once again, that's not going to be the case because there's always going to be a need for a human to be in the loop, if you will. You know,
Hmm.
people need to validate things. Naveen, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, please, just please go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. I thought you were chiming in. So yeah. So really, the fact of the matter is that humans are always going to be needed to validate that AI is doing things correctly. So
Hmm.
for some of you that have already been using AI, you know that this is the case. AI does some things. Sometimes it does it right. Sometimes it doesn't do it perfectly. So it is really important that a human is there to keep AI in check, if you will.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah, in
Sorry.
fact, I'll tell you one example recently that because I do a lot of consulting also. I discuss with, QA teams with different companies in Dubai also and in India as well. So one of the startups were there in Dubai, and then that is a recent example. I don't want to take their names, but so what they did that, okay, like heavily dependent on the AI things, and they just actually did not hire any senior guy or any architect guy at the dev level. And then for testing also, like heavily dependent on the AI, then just simple through AI agents, they were running the test cases, and then super happy, everything is green, perfectly fine, and it's a loan approval company. And there is a big disaster happened that, okay, there is a big bug they found in the production, and then a lot of customers, they were complaining about it, and it's like people were questioning about their production issues and everything. And then suddenly the venture capitalist who invested in that startup, they also started raising the question that, okay, how exactly you introduce the AI without giving a thought process or a higher guy or senior architect over there, right? This is what they raise the funding and everything so that they can spend money on those human intelligence, instead of they spend the money on the AI intelligence actually. And they hired some really good AI folks over there, and then got some good really licenses from the different cloud and different LLM models. And they just picked with the AI agents, and then they developed everything, looks great, no testing are done much. And then suddenly, then the production, this is what has happened here. And then they're discussing with me that, okay, Naveen, that what should I do in that case? So I said, okay, forget about automation, the basic testing itself is not done. There are like n number of issues are there in your testing, and then randomly it is just hallucinating you and then executing some of the test cases and then giving you the result which is like totally out of context of your application. So that is like one of the examples. I thought that, okay, like this is what is actually happening, and this is what is actually happening at the ground level.
Mm, that's awesome. Good insight. Um, so a couple of questions did come through, and I just wanted to touch on those real quick.
Mhm.
Just the last one that came in, what qualities should a QA have to survive in the upcoming
Hmm.
tech advancements? It's really, when it comes down to it, it's not being satisfied with your current status. You always want to be learning new things. So, with the introduction of AI, you should be going out there and digging into different AI models and learning more about different AI tools, just to, once again, have that as another arrow in your quiver. So, once again, you're not concerned about losing your job just because, you're used to doing testing and now you're concerned about losing that functionality. But yeah, that's definitely something that, everybody should be taking from this is, you know, always expand your knowledge, continuously. Another question came up. It's not specific to the AI stuff, but I might as well mention it. So a question came in about licensing. We'll get into this a little bit more, but testRigor is licensed based on a number of parallels. So however many tests you want to run at the same time is how many licenses you would get. If you want to run, 50 tests at the same time, you would need 50 AI agents. Um,
Hmm.
it's not tied to a person or a seat or anything like that. It's just how many test cases are running at the same time. So, Todd, thank you for that. And if there are any other questions, feel free to use the Q&A box too. I know that there's a lot of stuff coming through the chat. It's a little bit harder to track the questions versus just comments and what have you. So, but once again, keep them coming. All right. So, next myth: junior testers and developers won't have a career anymore. And I feel like one of the
Hmm.
comments in here kind of talked to that actually too. Um, but that's all right. Let's just. So once again, what it really comes down to is it's not that you won't have a career anymore. It just accelerates your learning. It's not replacing people. It's enhancing what you're able to do, streamlining things, speeding up everything. That's the biggest thing is like, once again, AI is a tool. If people look at AI and feel like AI is going to literally do everything, it's yeah, it's a bit daunting. And yeah, we are seeing that some companies are replacing people with AI, but once again, if you're learning the AI, then you could be the one that's doing those AI features and those functions via AI. So, once again, it is helping accelerate learning and, just increase people's ability to work in other facets of their organization, hopefully. All right. So the next myth we have here is AI adoption requires a complete process overhaul. And really, the fact of the matter, once again, is AI works best when layered into existing workflows with, and somebody mentioned this in the chat, with a human in the loop. We definitely, once again, we need a human to always validate that the AI is doing things correctly. Naveen, you mentioned it earlier about the hallucinations.
Yep.
Hallucinations happen. It's just what happens with AI. So having that human in the loop is always going to, you know, give us a little bit more, clarity or a more solid feel for what exactly we can get done. Oh, let's see. Sorry. So another question that popped in is, so how is your solution better than Apply Tools or Lambda Test? I think you meant Lambda Test. So I'm not here to specifically bash other tools. So if you'd like to actually get an answer to that, scan that QR code. We could do a demo and kind of have a back and forth. But Apply Tools is really great at doing visual testing. So
Yep.
if what you're really focused on doing is validating that something is or is not on a certain part of your screen, Apply Tools can do that. And there's plenty of other things that they can do as well, but I know that that's one of the main things that they're really known for. Naveen, I don't know if you want to add any more to that.
I think the KNAI came from the Lambda test MU, and that's really good. I have done one POC, no doubt about it.
Hmm.
Still, well, like maybe it will take some time to get more, evolved, and then maybe will take some time to be more mature enough. But I think if you compare with the typical Lambda test or a browser stack, I think that's a wrong comparison. testRigor is a test automation tool, and these are the cloud vendors which are available in the market to run your test cases on their platform. So I think
Yep.
with the testRigor also we can run the test cases on the browser stack and the Lambda test. That also we can do it. But testRigor is more of a NLP based model, which is like following the typical plain English and then giving the instruction to the browser to run your test cases.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So once again, it's more about creating test cases faster and
Yeah.
easier without the need to code them. So that's probably one
Yeah.
of the first things that I should have mentioned at the beginning of this. TestRigor runs all of their test cases via plain English. So we're not a Selenium wrapper around something that's creating Selenium behind the scenes. Nothing like that. It's all plain English, and that's really that's really it. So so one of the other questions, how to make use of AI for lead roles. So when it comes to lead roles, maybe there's only so many test cases that you've thought about testing. AI is great at coming up with other test cases. So that's one way that you could leverage AI is, give it some context of your application, let it go, and see if it comes back with test cases that you hadn't thought of before. That's one of the first ways that I saw AI being seen, is just like, oh yeah, that's a test case that I didn't think about creating, but that's a great test case. So hopefully that helps with that. Um,
So
um,
there's one question that today news came, question from Kuldeep that news came that top engineers from Anthropic and OpenAI are using AI to code 100%. So how can today's QA leverage AI to keep their relevance in the market? How much continuous learning is enough? So I think Kuldeep, see, try to understand that. See, I think the testing work will always be there because it will be in fact more, right? I was actually studying one article also that uh, after the AI, things will be more complicated, no doubt about it. Things will be more complicated in terms of development will be easy, maybe, but how exactly we can trust the solution given by the AI? Are we really ready for the production or not? So before that, the proper testing, proper continuous testing is very much required here. So human intelligence, human touch, and then the way we are doing the proper end-to-end integration testing, including all the AI factors and everything. I think that work will be more. But those typical boring administrative work or simple boring manual testing work or simple executing the test cases and spending time, hours of time preparing the test cases and all those things, I think that will be taken care by AI for sure about it. AI can, there are agents are available. It can read your, complete document, SRS document and everything, and then it will generate some nice test cases. But again, if you really want to execute, or if you really want to develop some out of the box test cases with your intelligence, with your expertise in the, in the product, in that particular product, or you are the right person to understand the product very well, you know functionality of your application very well, so in that case, I'm pretty much sure in that area, you can easily beat AI. So this is what it's very much required here, that adopting, just like Mary is also saying the same thing. New knowledge like AI in the test automation is must. Like it's like there is no escape, okay, for this. You all have to, like we all have to adopt the new technologies along with the AI and everything. You think about it, just let's see, doing the automation through AI. You have never written any kind of code. I'm taking an example of, let's say, Selenium or any other automation tool. And then if you're just copy pasting the things, and you think about after 2 months, who is going to debug anything in that monster, right? If you try to ask AI to do that, or any to fix that code or debug that code, or why the test case are getting failed and everything, it will just keep creating more wrapper and wrapper on top of it. You have no idea how to fix that code and everything. So it's not like completely 100% dependent on the AI solutions. We really need the human, okay, in the loop, and we really need to understand that whatever the AI is generating, are we able to understand that thing or not? Are we really like justifying the role of SJET or not? So I think this is my way of thinking about the AI.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're getting a bunch of agreeing people there in the chat. So, yeah, awesome. Um, so I do want to just touch on one thing out there. So Christian, great questions. However, so we do support API testing. So sorry, testRigor supports API testing. As for your other questions, tokens are handled securely and stored hashed out, so you don't have to worry about that from a security perspective. Logs are also going to show that hashed out, so you don't necessarily need to worry about that. Um, and oh, did I just lose it?
Yeah, Christian.
Sorry.
So I'll quickly give you the idea. Yes, we have in testRigor, I personally used it. So we can handle the JWT based token also. So you can,
Awesome.
if you are already having the token already available with you, you can just configure in the, settings of the test trigger. That also you can configure it at the global level. Plus, if you're using any API to generate the token, like JWT token and all those things, and then that also you can do it. And then on the fly, you can just fetch the token and then use that particular token ID or anything, an access token that you're generating or JWT token that you're generating in your upcoming APIs. So you can just configure it in your upcoming APIs with the header, with the authentication header. It will never log in the pipeline or in the logs and everything. It will never log it over there. So it's highly secured, absolutely perfectly. That I personally used it.
Awesome, Naveen. Thank you for chiming in there. Yeah, so great question. But security is obviously going to be one of testRigor's primary concerns because it is a cloud-based service. So obviously that's a concern for everybody. So, we have lots of fail safes in place to kind of deal with a lot of that. All right. So sorry, I'm just looking through some of the questions here and we got a little backed up here, but um, so one question, why testRigor versus WebDriver? So once again, that kind of comes down the route of, if somebody's already familiar with WebDriver, then, it's a matter of trying testRigor, see how it's going to act for you. Because once again, testRigor is focused on plain English, gives you multiple ways of creating test cases, so no need to code or anything like that. So, and okay, and okay, so sorry, we'll just continue there. And then somebody did ask if there's a trial. We do offer a free trial. The trial is um, an open source sort of trial. So if you do go just sign up for a trial, you're technically on a public plan. So then any of the test cases you create are technically available to the community. If that is frowned upon, then a paid account will give you the security and the privacy that you're probably looking for.
Yep.
All right. So here's another one that we come across. And it seems like we have a lot of people in here that are very well versed in the space. So, I'd like to, open the floor up a little bit to this one. You know, um, Another myth that I hear is that AI is going to fix my code. Is it a myth? Does anybody know of anything out there that can fix code? And just so there's not too much of a delay here, um, yeah, there is something that's basically just coming out. It's right around the corner. So testRigor actually has some new built-in functionality that actually has the ability to look at code and edit code and basically iterate through it multiple times until that code is successful based on the spec that was provided. I know that's a lot to take in, and I feel like, you know, the best way to get some more insight into this would be reaching out for a demo specifically of our new code cake functionality. Um, so I do see another question that just popped in here. And sorry, it might just be written a little weird, but that's totally fine. So actually I did answer this one already. So answered live. And this other one, is testRigor or but I'll say the question based on how I think it was meant to be said. How can testRigor adopt with UI changes? I mean, no need for us to amend anything if we change the UI. So yeah, in most applications or most automation tools, if you change your UI, your test cases go out the window.
Hmm.
That's not the case with testRigor. With testRigor, once again, it's plain English. So as long as the login button still says login, we're good. If it says log space in or sign in, our AI will still realize that those represent the same thing and it will do it. But then once again, the human still has to validate that it did it correctly. So you would, validate that action. So once again, we're not concerned about the UI changing. That's actually kind of one of the biggest selling points of testRigor is you could change your application however many times you want. These test cases should still work, granted that they were written without locational references being leveraged. So when I say locational references, I mean if you say, click the add the cart button to the left of, the iPad or something like that. If that iPad is no longer to the left or what have you, obviously that will cause a problem. But if you're not doing locational references, then testRigor is just going to handle any changes to your UI very, very well. So
Hmm.
great question there, anonymous attendee.
So,
Uh,
Bruno, can you like talk more about code cake? Like a lot of people are, I mean, a couple of people are asking about that. Like,
yeah,
so
yeah.
recently launched.
So CodeCake went through a little bit of a light launch where we gave some of our customers access to it so they could play around with it. And now we're just, basically, you know, looking for other people to give it a test. So what it requires is um, access to your GitHub repo. And then from there, we will clone your repo and then
Mm.
start running your tests. And then based on how that spec is written, the AI
Hmm.
will basically rerun that test case multiple times if needed until that spec becomes true, until like the end case is a pass with that spec in mind. So it's it's kind of hard to, just visualize and whatnot, but I could show a little quick glance at it when we get into the demo part.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, this is a really, really cool functionality. It's yeah, it's very exciting. So Gavita, CodeCake is not a record and playback. What it is let's see. So basically, inside of testRigor, we let our AI agents emulate manual testers. However, with this code cake functionality, those AI agents are no longer emulating manual testers, they're emulating developers. So by, what I mean by that is it's basically writing code, and then it's writing that code. It's then going to push that code back to its cloned repo. It's going to run that code and then see the results of it. And if it doesn't have success, if it doesn't, validate whatever was specified, then it's going to go back to the code, make more changes, and then redeploy, retest, and so on and so forth. And it's going to do that multiple times if needed. So
Okay.
once again, really, really cool functionality.
So
But yeah,
once let's say all the test cases got passed, and then it will merge it to the master branch.
yep. But once again, just like everything else, human is going to have to validate that the
Yeah.
changes are what you want and, check that box.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So with that, so once again, this is just more of a, intro slide again for testRigor. So, once again, test automation is expensive and it requires consistent effort and maintenance typically. Because once again, XPaths, CSS selectors, all of that stuff changes or UIs change. And then because of that, your test cases break. So once again, as mentioned earlier, with testRigor's plain English tests, they're very, very easy to create and maintain and faster, effortless, bug-free releases. So that's some of the big things. So once again, we talk about almost zero maintenance, and that is leveraged through a self-healing option we have in here. And then once again, we
Hmm.
do have generative AI powered test creation and generation, as well as support for multiple platforms. So that is one thing that, in my time as an automation person, I've seen many, many other tools and none of them that I'm aware of, have the ability to jump between different testing types. So that is one massive upsell for, or, a massive thing for testRigor is the ability to, run a mobile app and then jump over into a web app or into the desktop and do something there and then jump back. So the ability to
Hmm.
switch between testing types is hugely powerful. And, once again, testRigor is one of the few tools or only tools that I know can do that. And then just the last thing, you can actually test AI functionality using testRigor's AI. So, for an example, validating chatbots. We could tell testRigor, check that the response from the chatbot is positive. So we
Hmm.
could do things like that. So, really, really, once again, lots and lots of things that is um, that's available out there. So we can definitely leverage all sorts of things there. So then, great other question that just came in. Can we handle canvases using testRigor? And if so, how easy is it? So great question. So obviously with canvases are always very difficult to automate because everything in there is kind of a blank slate. Um, so testRigor can work with canvases and it could do it a couple of different ways. So though testRigor is primarily looking for some sort of attribute or the text of that element, we can also use coordinates if needed. And I know oftentimes people frown on coordinates, which I used to as well. However, if you're running the same test cases in the same resolution, those coordinates will hold true. But it doesn't have to be screen coordinates. Uh, it could be an offset based on other things that are on screen. You know, so Kavya, I, yes, it can be done. How easy is it? It's pretty easy, but every canvas, every application is a little different. So, I would only suggest that you reach out, run a trial, see how it would actually work for you all.
Yeah,
Um,
because the canvas is very difficult to crack.
Yeah.
Either you are talking about Selenium or Playwright because it's a HTML5 component. Everything is inside the canvas, and these tools they will just go to the boundary of the canvas. They are
Hmm.
not going inside the canvas. So in Selenium, we were using like coordinates and actions class, offset, and all those techniques that we were using. That is also not accurate. And in CI/CD or in the headless mode, it is always like getting failed. So if testRigor is solving that problem, I think that's a good feature.
Yeah. Awesome. So sorry, I'm just looking at this next question. So this is a great one. And I apologize if I mess up your name, but Dharmendra, um, I have a flow where a user has to first complete some work on the web and then switch to mobile, then validate results on web. Does it support this kind of flow? It absolutely does. So testRigor, once again, as I mentioned earlier, is one of the few tools that does have the ability to jump between different testing types. So that is definitely one that we do. Um, we actually have one of the first deals I closed here was for a very large gas chain company. And they have not only do they sell gas, but they also do food and beverages and all sorts of other stuff. And they have an
Hmm.
app and they have a kitchen. So what they wanted to do is be able to validate that a user could order something on the app and that order makes it to the kitchen. And then the person on the app could then go into the web portion and look for the email, making sure that their order was accepted and that their order was ready. So once again, back end stuff using like native desktop testing, and then both web and mobile. So all of that together,
Mhm.
very very solid, awesome functionality. There was also a question in here about image assertion for a camera input. So when I first started here, we did not have that functionality. However, we are a very agile company, so we've been, building lots of new functionality. One of those is the ability to basically, import, well, take an image, store it inside of testRigor as a file, and then during the flow, whenever your camera pops up, you could then tell testRigor to insert stored value image into, a camera or whatever, however it would be done there. Um,
Hmm.
so awesome
So I
questions.
think there is one question from Chris that what is the input to start building code? Like, can you import the test cases from test case management tool or
Mm.
user story from Jira to testRigor?
Yeah, actually, awesome question. And you know what? I feel like I've been in these slides too long. Maybe I just get into the UI.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, let's do this. All right. So let's jump in. And you know what? I actually have a suite specifically showing something like that. So, um, sorry. So Chris, you mentioned it Jira specifically, but all right. I don't have Jira. Well, I don't have user stories from Jira for this one, but that's fine. So what we're seeing here, and this is the testRigor UI for those of you who haven't seen it. Um, Lots of stuff in here. I'll touch on some of these, but basically, there's this button right here: import test case from test rail. That's just it's only test rail because that's the integration that I configured. TestRigor does support other tools, other test case management tools, X-Ray, Zephyr, Azure DevOps, um, just to start. But basically, once you set up your integration there, you have the ability to import test cases from that test case management tool. You could import all. I would personally suggest that you import a couple just to get a hang for how it works. So as you can see, we could select any one of these and then do an import. When we do that import, we can, link that imported test case with the test management system. We can import new test cases with labels. We could override if this test case is already in here for some reason. And we could also trigger the test case execution after the import is completed. That's a really cool
Mm-hmm.
one because that basically means pull in the test case and then try to run it right away. So the thing that happens with that is sometimes, well, not sometimes, but there's no guarantee that your test cases that live in your test case management tool are written in the testRigor syntax. And when I say syntax, it's not syntax, it's just, you know, our little bit of code. But basically, and once again, I said code, not the right word, commands. So this right here is a test case. You can see login, click programs, click dashboard. So all of these things are plain English, very easy to understand what is being done. Except for maybe this grab value, but grab value should make a little bit of sense there. One other thing to keep in mind is the login itself. Login will work for a variety of different login flows. So if it's
Hmm.
a username, next page, password, next, or if it's all in the same page, this login will just work. Obviously, you have to provide us credentials to do so, but that is doable. When we do that import, if it does not match our syntax, then what's going to happen is testRigor is going to create what we call reusable rules. And reusable rules are basically functions. Okay. Think of them as just reusable functions because that's basically what they are. So this one right here, create new batch message for email channel. When I hover over that,
Hmm.
you can see this little tooltip shows up that has other steps in it. So basically, what happened was we imported this from TestRail. AI looked at this and said, "Hey, that's not in testRigor syntax. Let's let's make it work." So it created a reusable rule that performed those four actions. And what happens is, once again, you as the human have to be the one that validates that this did it correctly. So I go to the actual rule, and by default, this rule is when we first run it, it's going to have this checkbox enabled because it is technically an AI based rule. So after testRigor has a chance to run this rule, we uncheck this box to see what actions were actually done. And in this case here, it did these four steps. And as the user, you validate that these steps are accurate. And if they are, great. We leave AI off because we already leveraged it. We don't need to trigger it every single time. We just need those steps. So we're happy. Let's continue. So that's the one beauty of doing an import from your test case management tool is not necessarily having to change the way you write things because we can handle that. But at the same time, if you do think that it's just easier to write things in the plain English syntax that we use, then that would just make the import that much easier. All right. And I saw that there was a lot of questions that came in. I apologize. I kind of closed that Q&A box by accident. Um, in what ways does testRigor reduce maintenance compared to traditional scripted tests? That is a great, great question. So, as mentioned earlier, um, typical scripted tests rely on things being exact the same way all the time. And with testRigor, once again, we realize that things are going to change. One of the big things is using these reusable rules because parts of your application are always going to work the same way, or at least you're going to be reusing lots of these different parts. So think of this rule as the thing that's going to speed up your maintenance because let's say you're calling this rule in 50 of your test cases. And now something changed. There's another step in this flow. You don't have to go to all of your test cases and make your changes. You could just come here and say, okay, maybe it says after you click messages, maybe there's another button that you have to click in between these. So we would then just say, okay, click new, even though it says create new message down there, but whatever. So we would just make the change here. And then down at the bottom, we have the option to save, then find and replace, or just save. So if you just save it, it's going to update all references of this reusable rule, just update it with the new line. If you do the save, then find and replace, it's going to look for these lines in any of your test cases and then give you the ability to basically refactor. So,
Hmm.
so very, very easy stuff there. So I'm going to just get rid of that. Um, Okay, so that is answered. How do you balance test coverage with speed in AI heavy environments? Hmm, that is a good one. Well, honestly, when it comes to coverage, it's more about having enough AI agents available to run all of the test cases that you need to cover. So that's kind of a harder question to answer, to be completely honest. Um, but yeah, honestly, it's always going to be testing it, giving it a try, and making sure that it is helping streamline a lot of the things that you're trying to do. Um, all right, so
So,
hold on,
but
sorry.
Bruno, we have a AI feature also, right? That moment I give the prompt in the test trigger,
Yeah,
and then it will just check my screenshots and everything, and then it will generate the test cases through
yeah,
the AI. And it will generate all these steps like click and all those things according to the test trigger syntax.
yeah. So there's actually multiple ways of leveraging the AI inside of testRigor. So one of them is generating test cases based on a feature description. So for
Hmm.
example, this application that I'm testing is Best Buy. Best Buy is an e-commerce website that sells a bunch of electronics. And you can see in here, I have a feature description. This feature description
Hmm.
should really be describing the actual specific feature that I'm looking to run to create test cases against. But in my example
Okay.
here, this is just more like a general description of the website, but then it also breaks down different things, like all the different categories that exist in the application, different user
Hmm.
actions that users can do. And this is just one of the places you can put some of this info. There is another place for AI context, and that is once
Hmm.
again just going to give the AI that much more information about the application and what to expect. Additionally, you can add images or flowcharts or screen grabs of your application to help give it a little bit more context. So once again, it might, you know, you don't necessarily need the images. If your feature description is, very, very robust, then we probably won't need it. But,
Hmm.
that's kind of one of those things. So if I do, there's this other button over here, click add test case. So if I click here, same sort of thing. So that AI context is available right here, where I can
Hmm.
give it some insight. But I could also just say, you know what? I don't really know what I want to do. I just know what I want to test. So I could just say, um, search for an iPad and add it to the cart. And then, as you can see, there's two buttons here, generate actual test using AI. That will show
Hmm.
us first, it's going to give us this AI execution plan, which is, what does the AI think we want it to do? And then based on this execution plan, I could make changes to it if I want, or I could just click confirm and it will start running the test. And when I say start running the test, oh, hold on. So type iPad into search, hit enter, click on one of the iPad models in the search results, scroll down to view the specs, click add to cart button. Cool. So confirm. So now that's going to run. When you leverage AI to create a test case, it will take a little bit
Hmm.
longer that first time. Okay. So
Hmm.
just be aware of that. And sorry, I'm going to sneeze. My apologies. So yeah, it will always take a little bit of time that first time. After you run it that first time, the AI knows where it's going, or rather, the test case knows the path. So, for an example, if I come down here and look at one of these other test cases, once again, this is just plain English. These could be created a bunch of different ways, but in this case here, um, once again, we leverage the AI to create it just based on search for an iPad. And once again, it got to the page, clicked search, entered iPad into the search, typed enter, and then it did a bunch of additional things here. It,
Hmm.
clicked on iPad Air below category. So that's one of those references to location. So if let's say this category is no longer here, but it's down here, then that will require a slight modification.
Mm.
Um, so that's kind of what you'll get from basic executions. So really, really powerful stuff.
So
So
Bruno,
then, yeah.
like, is it like completely based on the tokens that you guys are like that? If I'm using it and then heavily generating so many test cases and then executing also, so like I have to consume a lot of tokens, or it's a token based pricing or what?
So once again, it's not token based pricing. It's going to be entirely based on AI agent. So each one of
Mhm.
these test cases, so this one right now that's executing the yellow one is currently taking up an AI agent. If you need to run
Mhm.
test cases in parallel, then you would need to have multiple AI agents available. So then you can run multiple tests at the same time. Um,
Mhm.
so it's all
So
about
more
speed.
agents, more pricing will be there, or it's like I don't need to worry about any token kind of concept here.
Nope, no tokens concerning, none of that. It's really just a matter of, um, who's in your organization,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could take it a step further. So within the company configuration, you can set up teams, which will give you the ability to assign a certain number of AI agents to one team versus another. So if you have, let's say, 5 teams and you're concerned about one of those teams taking up all the AI agents, you could actually
Mm-hmm.
specifically assign 1 to 10, however many AI agents to that team. Then those team members
Okay.
only have access to those AI agents. So
Okay.
yeah, so you don't have to be worried about, one person necessarily taking up all the AI agents, but it is possible if you're not leveraging the team
Mm-hmm.
functionality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so let's see if I really want to take, let's see, 20 agents or 50 agents.
Hmm.
So, the pricing will be calculated, like your test trigger pricing will be calculated on the basis of the I mean, agents, or like anyone can use any number of tokens, I mean, agents.
Yeah. So once again, pricing comes down to, an AI agent based pricing. So however many AI
Okay.
agents you need is going to
Mm-hmm.
base your pricing. And obviously that would be for the more, sales focused people. But yes, and obviously with purchasing of multiple AI agents, there's possibilities of discounts and what have you and whatnot. But once
Mm-hmm.
again, that's for a
So let's say
later
I have only
conversation.
one agent, for example. Yeah, I have a very like very small team, only one agent we want. So can I, there is no way I can do the parallel testing or parallel execution because
Well, so
only
with
one
one
agent is
AI,
available.
yeah, so with one AI agent, you really can't do parallel because the whole point of parallel is having
Mm-hmm.
multiples. But having
Mm-hmm.
one AI agent means you can run a test. Then when your test is done, I could run a test, and so on and so forth. So you don't have to worry about running your test and
Mm-hmm.
having it just fail because there's no AI agents available. It will go into a queue. So technically you could just, schedule and run, 50 tests. They'll all eventually run. It's just, they'll run one after another.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, all right. Sorry. Seeing some other questions in here. Wow. Great questions. How do you see testRigor evolving as AI technology advances? Honestly, we've been at the forefront of it. testRigor's been testRigor's been in the market now for about the last 10 years, and we're like the first automation AI tool. So we've been at the forefront and we've been kind of, melding this as we've been going. So, where do I see it going from here? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. But we will be definitely making waves in that in those advancements, especially with the introduction of code cake and what have you. So great question. Um, all right. Sorry.
I think a
Can
couple of questions
application
on the ROI as well. That the ROI in and then the way we are investing in the AI based testing with the test trigger. Like how soon we can expect the ROI?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So ROI is obviously gonna depend heavily on each organization differently. But I so I do onboardings and trainings and demos and all that stuff. And my expectation is that at the end of my call with you, you're already
Hmm.
ready to create test cases. So there's no major learning curve. It's just a matter of getting in there and starting to play around. So, so it's really just a matter of starting to use it, because once you get in there, there's not a major learning curve. It's just when you see the errors, maybe you wrote something incorrectly or you had words back, mixed up or something like that. That's really it. Beyond that, testRigor is very, very easy to pick up. And once again, we don't just sell testRigor just to sell it. We want you to be successful. So we provide onboardings, we do trainings, we do all of these different calls to help make sure that you're getting the most out of the tool in as quick a time as possible. Because I don't know if you all are the same as me, but I'm a hands-on person. If I'm not
Mm-hmm.
using the tool, I'm not going to learn it. And that
Mm.
goes for so many other people that I've dealt with. Is I could demo everything and anything that the product has to offer, but if you're not the one that's actually using the mouse and moving around, you're not picking it up. Todd, thank you. So yeah, so I'm a big proponent of getting in there and playing around. So that is obviously, as you can see, that's kind of what excites me is doing demos and showing people all the new tech. So anonymous attendee, that's another answer for you. Let's see. Oh, awesome question, Todd. Thank you. Can testRigor be implemented to use a Jenkins pipeline to execute test cases on a set schedule? It absolutely can. So, um, I actually don't think. mm, I don't think my Jenkins stuff is actually working. It's been a while since I actually even tried to do it, but yes, you can set up your Jenkins to you could set up your CI/CD pipeline to call Jenkins and to run things that way. Plus, within our UI, there's a whole bunch of CI/CD specific documentation. So depending on what you
Yeah.
really want to do, you can change your different calls or what have you. So sorry, not there. CI/CD.
Yeah, there's a
So
shell script is given here, and this is
yeah.
you can just configure your script accordingly, and then you can just uh, integrate with the Jenkins very easily. I have already tested it. I think I
Mhm.
have one video also on my channel. So yeah, it is
Yeah.
absolutely doable. Yeah.
Actually, I'm pretty sure your video was the one that I watched to set mine up when I first got started with testRigor. So yeah. And then just a couple other things, like we do have other specific calls in here depending on other things that you want to do. So
Mm.
if you do want to run like one specific test case, you could do that by its UUID, which is its unique identifier. If you want to test by labels, we definitely suggest doing that, because there's going to be so many test cases in here that you want to label all of your test cases so then you could report on them easier later. And with those same labels,
Mm.
you could then do executions based on those labels and so on and so forth. So, yes. All right. So I know that we were, I think we were scheduled for the hour, and we've,
Yeah, we can take a couple of more questions
okay.
like quickly. So
Okay.
there is one
All right.
question from the Mary is can testRigor handle comprehensive testing for the accounting system?
Oh,
For example, let's see, create the cash invoice with $100, save it, and then general entry should be debit 100 credit and like that. Like, can we do that? The
we should be
calculation and
able
all
to.
the.
Yeah, we should
Mhm.
be able to, because once again, it's a UI. There's visual like elements that we can interact with. Um, it's more about the actions. You need to click here, you need to click there. So I don't see any concern with the accounting. Um,
Mhm.
testRigor works inside of all sorts of really robust applications. Like you can see, like this is my Salesforce suite in here. So Salesforce, we have people testing NetSuite with testRigor, which is very, very robust. We have people testing Oracle EBS. So there's a lot of different technologies out there being leveraged by people using testRigor. Just because, once again, we're not relying on the underlying implementation details, and that's one of the biggest things that I hope you take away from this is
Yeah.
not relying on implementation details, because that's what so many other tools do. And when those implementation details change, that's where your scripts change, or where your scripts basically are pointless at that point, and you need to rewrite things or reconfigure a whole bunch of things. And in testRigor, not not the same. It's all about are those words still there? And if so, good. This test case will still work. So,
Yeah. So there's one very interesting question from Rohini. In fact, I would like to also give the couple of points from my side, but I would like to know from your side, Bruno, first that in future does it turn out to be like testing will shift to use end-to-end test automation tools like testRigor or NLP based tools instead of using Selenium or Playwright or similar tools. So what do you think? The shift is happening from like Selenium Playwright to the codeless automation or plain English based or NLP based test automation tools?
yeah, I definitely think that shift is happening, and testRigor is at the forefront of
Mhm.
that as well. Because once again, we're one of the few tools that I'm aware of that can actually do that jump between different applications or what have you. Um, so we have some very, very large customers that are using us for full end-to-end testing that, once again, might be jumping between two or three or maybe four different applications, or maybe not just applications, but testing types, So yeah, yeah. So Rohini, great question. I definitely think, um, yeah,
Mhm.
test rigger will
But
be,
again, like
yeah.
because these tools are like open source and
Mm,
open source libraries, Selenium, Playwright, Cypress. We don't need to invest anything on this. Okay, we just need to hire a couple of experts who are working with Selenium Playwright. They can design end-to-end things and then they can trigger it. So, like, how will
mm,
I convince? How will I should why should I go with the test trigger where
yeah,
that everything is freely available and then a very great community support is available? I'm leveraging these tools and then I'm learning coding, automation, designing a lot of stuff over there with Selenium Playwright and then doing like full liberty. I don't need to be dependent on the license tool.
yeah,
And I don't need to be dependent on your team to get the support from there. So why should I pick testRigor as compared to Selenium or Playwright?
yeah. So you mentioned one specific term that I'd like to touch on, which is experts. Selenium and Playwright require experts. You can't
Mhm,
kind of know how to use Selenium or kind of know how to use Playwright. You need to know how to use it, you know? And that's one of the big things is like those tools require massive amounts of knowledge and massive amounts of time and investment to
mhm,
be very well versed in them.
mhm,
Whereas, with testRigor, once again, it was designed to help manual testers streamline and speed up their test creation. So,
mhm,
and it also is introducing test creation to, non-technical users. So if you do have a business analyst that really
mhm,
knows the product, but they don't know tech at all, they just know what their product is supposed to do, they would be a great person to leverage testRigor as well. So we're not relying on very, very expensive people to do some of these things because those expensive people should be leveraged creating new functionality, not tweaking old automation scripts. You should be using your expensive people to be doing, more important things like new functionality and new features. So,
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's like maybe you are the right person to give the answer for that. So then why big giants like Google, Microsoft? We don't hear anything from their side that again they are not investing anything with respect to codeless automation tool. Like from Google, from Microsoft, we don't see any such kind of tools from from their side. Microsoft is backing Playwright. Selenium is a community-driven tool. Puppeteer and all those things started from Google, and then Cypress is a different company. So like all
Mm,
these big giants are like focusing only on like Apple is also doing that Objective C or Swift language to automate the native apps and everything. APM is also there again, code-based automation tool. So
yeah.
why they are like still hesitant, especially in the era of AI or NLPs. So like what could be the reason behind that they are not backing these tools?
Yeah, that's a great question. I honestly feel like it could just be that they're trying to build something internally. So, they're trying to maybe create partnerships. So then it's easier to like absorb one of those companies and use it as their own product. I'm not really certain there. But
Mm-hmm.
once again, it really comes down to the skills of the people. There's a lot of people out there that are manual testers or are just getting into, the tech space that are looking for a place to fit. And obviously, by leveraging AI as a tester, this is going to definitely help you streamline a lot of test creation and once again come up with concepts or test ideas that maybe nobody thought of before.
Hmm.
So as for why why are those other companies getting backed? That's something I can't directly speak to, but I feel like it could just be mostly about partnerships.
Hmm.
You know.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So I think one last question. Is it required to write any kind of code in testRigor?
Oh, great question. Is it required? No. Is it possible? Yes. So,
Mm-hmm.
once again, we say that testRigor can basically support, everything in a codeless or a plain English way.
Hmm.
However, some things that people like to test would be like randomness, you know.
Hmm.
And if you're looking for something random, that's not testRigor's forte because testRigor wants a path to go down. So
Hmm.
if you are looking for it to select something random on screen, then yeah, you would probably need to write a little code snippet of JavaScript to tell it to do something randomly. But once
Hmm.
again, that would just fit inside of testRigor's normal plain English syntax. You would just do something like oh no, sorry, not that.
Yeah, some regex and regular random functions you can generate.
Yeah. So you would just do this. You would write a JavaScript snippet and then call it
Hmm.
inside of your test case, just like you call everything else. So execute JavaScript and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, that's a good one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So great
So
question.
another advantage, Sardeep, that see the thing is with the tools like testRigor and all, we don't need to worry about typical locators strategies like XPath, CSS, and all those things. Those are the reasons behind the flaky test cases. Like today,
Exactly.
XPath is working, tomorrow it's not working, right? Plus the sync issues and all those things. Although Playwright Selenium claims that okay, we have some best locators available, best
Hmm.
locator strategies, they support that, especially in the Playwright, but still we see there are some issues. But I think
Yeah.
the philosophy of the test trigger interacting with the UI is totally different. There is no use of XPath and the HTML path and all those things. It is just whatever it's available on the page, visible on the page, scroll up, scroll down, left side, right side, top to
Hmm.
bottom, it will check. And then I think on the basis of the relatives, it will just try to interact with the element. So
Yeah.
I think this is the way that exactly the user is using your application.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's the biggest thing to take away from all of this is test riggers looking at your application the same way a user is.
Hmm.
So if the user is trying to click sign in, but it doesn't exist on the screen, what would that user do? They would scroll down and
Hmm.
look for it, and so test rigger is going to do the same thing, and what I have up on the screen right now, I know we're getting a little bit past where we were supposed to be, but test rigger uses a variety of different attributes to find an element on screen. So as you can
Hmm.
see, there's 11 different attributes here that test rigger will leverage for desktop web and mobile web. And, so if
Hmm.
text is dynamic and that's always changing, there's something else that we can use to leverage in order to find that specific element. So, that's the beauty of this is having all of these different attributes available. And then if we do
Hmm.
need to get more specific, we could specify the type of the element just to give it a little bit more direction. Um, and then, from there we could go even further, leveraging like locators a little bit more and so on and so forth. But once again, the biggest thing here is we don't rely on implementation details, but we can leverage anything that's available as an attribute to consistently find some of those elements.
Hmm. Great.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so I think we can just wrap it off now
Yeah.
because
And
it's
I
already late
apologize
more
that
than
we
one.
weren't able to answer all these questions. There's so many good questions in here. We will try to get to these and maybe send out responses after the fact. But everybody, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. I look forward to seeing some of you in some demos later on. And Naveen, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. You are such a stud when it comes to the space. So thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, and thanks a lot, Bruno and testRigger team, to have this webinar because this is like very much required, and I'm sure that okay, a lot of people they got to know about not only about the tool, about the myth and the hype that we talked about. I think that was really great. So with this note, I think thank you so much, all of you, and we'll try to take all these questions. Maybe somewhere we will note it down, and Bruno, maybe just we can just do the brainstorming later, and we can somehow try to manage these questions and then send it to everyone later. So I hope that the team also will share this recording with all the participants whoever registered, so they might get the recording of this webinar as well. And feel free to ask any question, guys. You can just scan these QR codes. You can connect me and Bruno on LinkedIn, and then these are our email IDs are available. And then use testRigor, present testRigor to your management, and then do some POC. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me and the testRigor team and Bruno as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you once
Okay,
again,
thank you
everybody.
so much. Yeah,
Thank you, Naveen.
thank you. A great weekend, Bruno, and to everyone.
You as well. Thanks, everybody. Happy
Thank you.
testing.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Cheers.
Happy testing. Yeah.